Well, it's August the 7th, and the topic today I want to jump into is something that kind of was spurred by a news announcement that the AMA is now recommending that we no longer designate the sex of the child at birth. And I guess we're going to have to wait to see what gender the person eventually chooses, or I don't know. At any rate, I thought this was a particularly asinine thing as our establishment people continue their decline into utter stupidity, and this one is just really insane. I mean, a very small percent of the population apparently develop some kind of a mental condition where they eventually don't identify with their actual physical gender and want to do something about it. And based on this very small fraction of the population, we're now trying to set a precedent or something that everybody should not be designated by gender or at birth. And this is just kind of an asinine development of an ongoing process we've been witnessing in this country. So, by the way, if you like these videos, remember to give me a like. They help out with the algorithms. If you haven't, subscribe and ring the bell there so that you can get notified. Yeah, so I think this is actually encouraging mental illness rather than dealing with it. I mean, obviously, I don't think there's any objective viewpoint that people should accept the reality of what they are. I mean, and this idea that certain areas you can identify with something and therefore you are that and are treated like that. For instance, the other thing that came up the other day I noticed is that apparently California and perhaps some other states, but I think it's happening in California most, that they're letting prisoners state what they identify as. So you have male prisoners identify as female and then being put into women's prisons with the women. And of course, strange enough, they're not behaving like, well, I don't know, they're having sex with the women anyhow. Maybe they're not just identifying as a woman, maybe they're identifying as a lesbian. I don't know what. But at any rate, they are having sex with the women, and now we got a woman that's pregnant, of course, from it. Now they're handing out condoms or something in the prison. I mean, the whole idea is completely ignorant. I mean, and we can probably figure what's going on here. I mean, look at the male prisoners. Some of them are probably thinking, look, rather than being subjected to sexual assault in a men's prison by another man, I'd rather be in a woman's prison subjecting a woman to assault. See, so that's the kind of thing that these prisoners are no doubt thinking, and they're taking advantage of it, and their stupid system is ignorant enough to actually let this happen. I mean, this kind of insanity in high places is really damaging the country, I think, in a fundamental way. And of course, we also have this ongoing thing about the idea that we're going to mask these children in school. The idea you're going to get young children to wear their mask properly is kind of laughable. After all, you can't even get adults to wear their mask properly in public, so you think you're really going to get the children to do it? I mean, really? There's every time you go out in public and see when they were in the mask mandates, where I was at any rate, and all these people had the mask down over their nose and every other crazy thing. So, not covering their nose and so forth. I mean, so it's the same kind of thing is going to happen with children, only more so. Plus, it's going to cause other issues like rashes and stuff like that, having to wear this thing all day long. I mean, the worst I've ever experienced during the mask mandate period was like wearing it through a movie or wearing it on an airplane flight, basically from going in the airport to leaving the airport. So and these were relatively short flights. So all I'm saying is I can imagine all day long for a child, day after day, has got to be too much. But again, this just illustrates this ongoing absurdity that the leaderships of this country are putting on people. But I think particularly this whole gender thing is really crazy. I mean, if you're going to treat these people as in some way, they probably should be put in a category of other and put somewhere else. I mean, the idea that somebody can become a woman or become a man simply because saying I identify as that is absurd. I mean, now we have the AMA supposedly scientifically trained people who actually are falling into the same insanity. They, above everybody else, should know that genetically they're different, that the hormone structures and so forth in the bodies are different. It's just completely nonsense. And this is an ongoing problem, which I think threatens the mental stability of children as they grow up, as they're now being subjected in school, apparently, increasingly to this kind of propaganda from the LGBTQ communities and all these people. I mean, these are issues that, for the most part, nobody even thought of years ago until they were somewhat older, I think. And the idea of throwing this stuff into very young children is just really a bad idea. But I don't know. Increasingly, our somewhat authoritarian government seems to want to impress us on the general population. In closing, I would like to make address this the current COVID surge. I've been following it on my charts and looking at it today. I mean, it's getting bad. I mean, basically the 7-day average is behind the peak day from over 2 weeks ago. So that gives you an idea, kind of the trend. The trend is still sharply up, and so it's going to get worse. Right now, it looks to me like the death rate may be somewhere in the range of about 2/3 the rate it was with the previous variants. So it isn't more dangerous. It's actually a little less dangerous. But for the unvaccinated and the vulnerable populations, particularly, I mean, either people have not had COVID before or the unvaccinated, they're still at significant risk here, as they were before, but probably about 2/3 the chance of fatality. And so there's I think if you feel like you can get vaccinated, go ahead and do it. I still am confused as a mass opposition to getting vaccinated, this thing. I mean, some people are saying it's because it hasn't been formally approved by the FDA, but would that really change anything? If you don't trust the judgment of the people that's putting it on the market right now, the fact that they made a bureaucratic vote changes something in your mind? I mean, I don't think it's going to change anybody's opinion there. And I'm not sure. I don't know what exact obstacles are holding it up, but part of it, I think, is the fact that the administration's been kind of slow to pick a FDA commissioner and get him, so that may be part of the reason things are slowed up. And a lot of it, I think, is just certain things that take a certain amount of time to process. But so far, it looks like that the cases among the vaccinated are relatively milder for the most part. And that sounds like a good idea. But at any rate, if you don't want to, then don't. I mean, but I guess and for some people, they perhaps shouldn't. And that would be, I would say, talk to your doctor and see what they say about it, obviously. And the other thing to consider is that if you have had bad reactions to vaccines in the past, I think that might be a reason to be somewhat reluctant. But otherwise, if you haven't had, then I don't see what the real hang-up is. But at any rate, well, that's kind of my opinion here. And by the way, you can follow me on social media. I post updated ideas almost on a daily basis on Twitter and from time to time on both Gab and Parler. And I need to post more on those other sites because I think we need to kind of build up their following. But and the links to that are of course in the description below. Well, that's it for today.